This is Indie Business Podcast, Season 1, Episode 2. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Indie Business Podcast. I am your host, mentor, and coach, Donna Maria, the founder and CEO at IndieBusinessNetwork.com. My goal is to help makers and handmade entrepreneurs build a solid business foundation, increase your income, and use your business to create the life you love. On this episode, I'll introduce you to Alana Rivera of Etta and Billie in San Francisco, California. You will love her, as I do. Now, she's been a member of IBN since 2009, so I've known her for quite a while. But I really started to get to know her in 2012 when she joined us for the first time for Indie Cruise Mastermind. I gotta tell you, I love everything about this woman, and I do love her products too. During our time together, Alana told me about how her business started, including how having a terrible job played a role in the launch of her venture. We talked a little bit about her favorite social media tools, and we really dug down deep to discover how her business model works, so you can get some insight from that as well. You can find an outline with resource links for this episode at indiebusinessnetwork.com/2. I'll be right back with Alana Rivera. So Alana, where are you today? Where am I interviewing you from?
You're interviewing me from my recently cleaned out home office in San Francisco, California.
Oh, how do you like working from home?
You know what? I love it, especially now that I have a dedicated desk that I could actually sit at, and I don't have boxes about to tumble over onto me at. So.
Oh my goodness, I know that feeling. Working from home has great benefits, but there are some things we have to be concerned about.
True.
So Alana, you are with Etta and Billie in San Francisco. You make bath and body products, and I can say that they're exquisite and fabulous. Tell us about that brand name. How'd you choose that?
So I came up with that brand name. It took me a while, as it does for people. I was really trying to find something that meant something to me. But thanks to a brilliant business person I know, namely you, you had mentioned it also needs to be, something that you can actually get. You can get the URL for, and that it's easily trademarked. And, the names that kept popping into my head were my grandmother's names. And at first I was like, I don't really know I was trying to combine those names. And I ended up just going with Etta and Billie. And, it's great because I spent a lot of time with them when I was growing up, both of them. And they mean a lot to me, and I love the sort of lessons and adventurous spirit that both of them have instilled in me, and I just kind of wanted to carry that with me in my business, and have their names around me all the time, since they are with me all the time, so that's sort of it.
Well, and it's obviously worked out really well. So when did you start your business? What year was it?
I started my business in 2009. I started soaping in 2006, but the actual business started in 2009.
So for the 3 years between 2006 and 2009, you were just sort of honing your skills and learning how to make things?
Exactly. I had been working, I started the soaping because I had been working this job that I really didn't like, but I felt like I needed to give a full year at, and I was really miserable. It was a really difficult environment for me, and I would call my mom crying, and she finally was like, you need to focus your energies on something else if you've decided that you're going to commit to being here for a year. And so she got me a book on soap making, knowing that I liked product and I liked cooking. And I think she just thought maybe this is something that she could get into. My mom, very brilliant.
Moms are like that.
They really are. It's amazing. So I read through the book and I got really excited, and I collected all the materials, and I made my first batch of soap, and it took, it was very scary but exciting. I never saw trace after stirring for what felt like 4 hours. But I finally just I poured it and I let it rest. And the next time, the next day when I opened it, I was like, oh, it looks fine.
I know.
And it seems great. And I was like, this is great.
Yes.
And so it just it snowballed from there. I started getting into other products and making stuff and, and I was, and it became a business, mostly because I was really realizing that terrible job. I just realized I didn't want to be in an environment like that. And I was like, well, the only way to guarantee that is if I create my own environment. So,
right. Well, tell us a little bit about that backstory too, because so many of my listeners are in a situation where whether they have a job or not, they've got this wonderful product line or a few products that they make really well, and they're sort of, trying to decide whether they want to actually make it a business. Tell us a little bit about the thought process that you went through there. So other people can kind of see what you did and maybe model some of what they did after you.
So it's kind of funny because, now looking back, I think to myself, I was a little naive when I started, which is not actually a bad thing, I realized, because, there's a lot of work that goes into owning your own business. And especially as you grow, there's all of these things that you may not have thought about in the beginning that you now have to think about. So I sort of just, in my mind, I was like, I have these great products. I'm just going to start this business and I'm going to sell on Etsy and it's going to be great. And that's how it's going to work. And that sort of is how it sort of worked is, I was working a day job. I went to an herb school and I graduated, and I had actually originally wanted to go work for a natural product company because there's a lot here in the Bay Area. But that was in 2008. And so no one was hiring. And so I ended up having to go back to work at a law firm that I had worked at. They were all very supportive. They actually let me work part-time while I was going to school. So they hired me back full-time. And I basically just was like, okay, I'm going to work on my business and have a day job. And so I did that for about, oh my gosh, how long was it? About 4.5 years. Is that right? Wow, I think it is. I think it's about 4.5 years. And while I did that, what was great about it is it gave me a lot of opportunity to try a lot of different things with this sort of safety net behind me, which is it's a really nice and comforting thing, at least for me. Mm-hmm. And I was able to, I took a lot of classes. I started going to like the soap conferences, the indie cruise, and sort of honing a lot of other skills before I really jumped sort of over the edge.
Right. Right.
And, I think that period, I think for me, it lasted a little longer than I had wanted to.
It always does. Always does.
I'm really happy that I had the opportunities that I did to get a lot of experiences. I utilized also the Small Business Administration.
Right.
Which is great. Yeah.
So
oh my gosh.
Smart.
So wonderful. And they have free one-on-one counseling for a certain number of hours and different topics for people. And, I also at that time was able to do research on local networks. And so I joined the San Francisco Made, which
awesome.
is a nonprofit that supports manufacturing.
I've seen that. Here. That's a really great program. So it sounds like, when you describe what you did, zooming out a little bit for our listeners, it sounds like what you did was you connected locally and you prepared yourself. You really started doing some business leadership sort of mastermind training and interaction before you actually jumped off, as you said. Yes. And, like I said, looking back, I'm really happy I did that. I think while it was happening, I was like, no, I want to be doing this full time right now. Right.
And,
right.
I think there is something to getting yourself the sort of information that makes you feel more comfortable.
Yes, that confidence level. And, investing in yourself is something that is so hard for so many women to do. And it sounds like what you did was you said, I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. And I know the payoff will come, and look at you now.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit to today. I mean, you have in the time that I've known you, and of course I've had the honor of sailing with you on Indie Cruise, which is always so much fun. But you've rebranded since your first trip with us into the Caribbean. You have gotten your products into several different stores. Your website looks fantastic. You have a lot of fun with your smartphone taking pictures. So you've also become a little bit of a marketing maven over there. So this is just such an exciting thing, and I wish we could cover everything. But tell us, if you would, Alana, what are like the top 3 things you do in your business model to make yourself successful?
Okay, the top 3 things I do. One is I hire people or get consultants to do things that are not my forte. Graphic design being one of those. So, I think it's really important to figure out the things that you're great at and figure out the things that you're maybe not so great at, or maybe you don't love doing, that you don't need to do, and pay somebody to do those things for you. Because it really freed me up to do the other things, which I have to say is really utilize social media. It was kind of, when it started, I did it because, again, a great business person I know, namely you, were like, you have to try these things, figure out which one is the best thing if you don't want to do all of them. And so I was doing Twitter, and I was doing Facebook, and I was trying to blog. And I think what's great about that is it really helped develop my voice. And so for me, the social media marketing is really key. I have to say, it's really interesting. Instagram is surprisingly a really great source now for me for some wholesale clients.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And retail, which it's so strange. I was like, I like it because I love the medium and I love interacting with people on it.
Yes.
But I never really thought of it as a sales tool directly, other than people just seeing my product and then maybe thinking about following me here and then maybe going. But I never really thought about it as like an instantaneous
yes.
Oh, I saw you on Instagram, so now can I sell your products in my store?
Right. I love it. I love the instantaneous part of Instagram.
Yes.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because for the last year, so many of us as women have been directed to Pinterest, but not that there's anything wrong with it. But honestly, I have gotten in touch with people after seeing their products pictured on Instagram, and I'm like, where can I get this? Where'd I go? And you got to go to the link in their bio, and I'm like, I'm getting it now. So I love that you're mentioning that. And I also really appreciate what you said about finding people to do things that you're not really good at. Graphics is so important, and I just don't think that everyone appreciates that, and they sort of wonder, well, why aren't I getting any sales? And kind of look at this graphic, honey. It's a great product, but you really have to up level that. And it's not that expensive to do. There are so many good graphics artists around who can work really quickly. If you give them a logo, it's not too long before they can come up with something that's good enough for you to use, right?
Totally. And it also depends on what look you're going for.
Yes.
And I think having a collection of inspiration, if it's something you want to do, is so helpful for a designer, because it makes it that much faster for them to do it. If you can say, these are sort of the things that I like and what I want to go for anyway. I also wanted to share, I think the other thing that for me is really important is to be, like I said, to know the things I don't know, and take steps to try and learn about things. And reach out to people, whether it's, I recently was on the phone with the California employment department,
right,
because I have 2 employees now, and I had some questions, and it's, it's one of those things, you have to take charge of those things. So you have to learn about the things that you don't know about, namely like employment taxes and things that you just maybe never thought you'd need to figure out, because you thought, well, it's just going to be me.
No, it's never just you. When you start making money, the state needs a piece of it.
They do need a piece of it. But luckily, there's so many resources out there, and there are so many ways to get sort of the information that you need. And that's been really helpful for me, and having a really great network of people as a resource, I think, it gets really hard. I know for me, I have a hard time sometimes asking for help,
Mm-hmm.
but the times that I've reached out to the people in
Mm-hmm.
my business group, in my personal life, in the Indie Beauty Network, I have really gotten some wonderful support and feedback, and it's just really incredible. And I think that it's really important to when you're by yourself, sometimes you really get into that mindset of I'm by myself. I have to do all this all on my own, but it's not true.
No, no, you really don't. That's really
no,
a choice. That's a choice that people
yeah,
make. And I think sometimes people are a little bit shy, as you mentioned, about,
yeah,
reaching out and showing everyone in the world that they don't know something. And,
yes,
you really need to exchange that for being able to get something done. So,
yes, totally,
really good point. So
totally.
tell us a little bit, Alana, about how your business model works. You have, you obviously have a website at ettaandbillie.com. So you have retail sales. Tell us a little bit about where your other income streams come from.
Sure. So I have my own branded website, as Donna Marie mentioned, and then I have an Etsy
Mm-hmm.
site,
Okay.
which I still will maintain because it actually brings me wholesale and some retail customers. And then I sell through two, well, soon to be two, third party sites. So one of those is Brica, and it's just a collection of handmade goods, really well curated. You can apply or you're invited. They're two lovely ladies based in Canada started the business. And then I'm also recently trying to sign up to do the Martha Stewart American Made shop on eBay. So that will be another, I haven't started that yet, so we'll see how that goes. And then the other things that I do, I have a wholesale sign up. So wholesale is a huge part of my business. It's about 70%, I think, the last time I checked. And I get a lot of my wholesale through my website.
Good.
And then going to shows, doing craft shows, big craft shows, big events in cities that make sense for me.
Right. You just did Renegade in San Francisco, right?
I did just do Renegade, and I'm going to be doing the Renegade in Chicago in September. And actually, this weekend, I'm doing my very first trade show. I'm doing the San Francisco International Gift Fair.
Wow.
So I know.
Awesome. So that's great. So you have the third party sites, you have your own branded website, and then you have wholesale and the physical venues that you sell your products in. It's just a nice coordinated suite, and you were able to nail it down really quickly as we were talking. So that's really good, and it's so contained. It makes so much sense. So does knowing exactly, does being able to answer that question the way you did for me in like 30 seconds, does that help you be more efficient and have more fun in your business?
Yeah,
you're not running around trying to get sales, everywhere.
Everywhere. Yes, it does. And, I still have to teach myself lessons about the kind of shows that I do because especially this year, now that I don't have the day job, I've been doing smaller shows than I would typically do. And I used to have a sort of rule that I never did a show that I've never been to, and B, that I didn't know was a well-known show. And they've all been learning experiences, which is great. But, also you have to think about where you're putting your resources. And I think for me, I sort of let go of that one rule of mine, and I'm reining it back in, and I'm reminding myself of that rule.
Well, it's a process, it's a process. I think, I hope as you mentioned that, I'm so glad you did, because I want our listeners to know that, this is not a straight line. We don't go, Alana didn't quit her job, and neither did I, and get up the next morning and go, oh, it's a straight line to where I want to be. That's, we make mistakes. We totally mess up when we go, ooh, let me rein myself back in here and get back on track. It's a process.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a process. And speaking of that, then, I'm opening up to the idea of doing other things like teaching, doing some private label, doing some custom blends for people. And that was sort of when I started, sort of some things that I thought about, but I didn't know how to incorporate that. And I think now that I have not another job that I work at.
Right, right. Well, that helps.
It feels like I have more space to make that happen.
Well, and the other thing it sounds like you have, correct me if I'm wrong, is you have a platform in place. In other words, you have systems in place that are working when you're doing other things. And those systems lead to sales, so you don't physically have to lead to every sale.
Yes.
Bam. That is that, and it takes, and you know what? Let's just remind everyone too, it takes a lot of work to get there.
Yes.
But you've done it. You've done it. I mean, and your products are in like Urban Outfitters at their, tell us a little bit about some of the stores where we can find your stuff. I mean, because we might be out shopping right now while we're listening to this podcast.
Right.
And we have to stop and shop.
So I was in Urban Outfitters online for a while, which was great and really wonderful exposure. I was in Banana Republic pop-up shops I believe that was part of last year, in Chicago, San Francisco, New York, and Santa Monica. I was in their flagship stores for a while. And right now I have a range of retailers, from small boutiques to larger retailers. One of which I'm working with is Terrain, which is Anthropologie's garden brand.
I see.
And they have 3 stores in, I believe it's Pennsylvania and Connecticut. And so that's going to be happening this fall, which is really exciting. And
very great.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. And, and it's constantly evolving. And I feel really fortunate to have worked with some big retailers a little earlier on, because it really forced me to step my game up.
Right. Yeah. And what does that feel like? I mean, tell us a little bit about what you mean when you say step your game up. What does that mean to you? How do you define that? And how can you encourage other makers and indies to do that?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things was, it really forced me to think about scale, like quickly think about scale, scaling up my production, scaling up how to wrap, package, everything. It's kind of, and also it forced me into, I had wanted to rebrand, but it really forced me into rebranding, because I really was like, I'm in a big retailer. I need to have the kind of presence that makes me look bigger than I am and is appealing to people, and also feels like the sort of brand that I want to put out there. So those were some of the major things. And it forced me to think about how do we package things together and how do we label things, because these big retailers have very specific requirements about how things are packaged and labeled. They have, how you ship something to them. They have very, very, very serious rules. And while it seems cumbersome from a small maker perspective, it started to make me think about this. Well, they're doing this because they get thousands of shipments and they need a good way to organize it. So how can I incorporate some of these same methodologies into my work so that it's easy for us when we're shipping out orders for someone to know exactly what they're getting, and for us to know exactly what we're shipping out. And so it was really great. And, I had to read through their pages and pages of manuals.
Right. And it sounds like it's definitely paying off for you. Yes. And also, during this period of time that you've been moving in this direction where most of your sales are coming from retail, or wholesale to retailers, you have been able to hire people to help you. Tell us how many people you have on staff or virtually, and what they do for you to help you be successful, Alana.
Okay, so I have 2 part-time employees, one whose sole job is to help me with production. And then I actually have an intern right now. So I have 3 employees, an intern, and then 2 other assistants. And then I utilize, like I said, graphic design work. And then I've also utilized some virtual assistant work too, as well, when it's just too much for me to handle, too much for my assistants to handle as well. I mean, this is actually, I just hired my second person in May.
Right.
So We haven't done a full holiday yet, and
Mm-hmm.
those are the test times.
Ooh, yeah, that's going to be exciting. And you have
It
a
is.
new physical location. Tell us about
Yes.
that. I saw some
Yes.
pictures on Instagram. Yes, I did. And it
Yeah.
looks like it's so bright and sunny and you've got room to grow. Tell us about that process.
Yeah. So I had, when probably about a year ago, I've been working out of my apartment since I started, and we actually moved from a one-bedroom apartment to a three-bedroom apartment to attempt to, enable my business to grow. My husband is incredibly supportive, which is really wonderful. And so I then took over. I had one bedroom in our three-bedroom apartment, and we had an office. And then I had two bedrooms out of the three bedrooms. And then it kind of leaked a little bit into the kitchen. And then at holiday time, it would also leak into the living room. And so, my husband and I both were like,
Out in the hallway, down the front
yes.
stairs.
Oh my gosh, yes. And so we were finally like, okay, I think, it's time. I really need to move this out of the house for multiple reasons. Growth was one of them. Sanity was the other big one. And so, we started looking for space, and the organization I mentioned before, SF Made, actually has somebody on staff that helps makers find space, which is pretty wonderful.
Right.
He gave me a couple different leads, and we went and checked those out. And what's funny is we ended up finding my space on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this great old building that has a lot of makers in it. I just met a guy who builds bikes
Oh,
the
wow.
other day, and there's dancers and there's
Oh, my goodness.
jewelers, and I haven't unfortunately been able to meet everybody yet, but it's pretty great how many makers are there.
It sounds heavenly. I think you should
It is.
propose a party.
I
You
know.
could have a holiday party so you could meet everyone. You could
Totally.
buy each other stuff.
I love it.
I need a
love
new
it.
bike. I mean,
Exactly.
my goodness.
I know,
It
definitely.
sounds like, I'm so excited to hear that there are those people around you because you can encourage and inspire each other. It sounds like these places are popping up all over the country. We have a few in North Carolina because most of sort of the quote unquote co-working spaces have focused heavily on tech and people sitting at laptops all day long, which was just a whole nother story about how great that is for your life. But, but really being able to have an artful location where people are artists, but they're also entrepreneurs.
Yes. Yeah, it's really it definitely has some really great energy, and I feel very fortunate to live in a city where we actually have quite a few of those buildings. You know, so there were some options, sort of. I was on wait lists for other buildings, but my space is great. It has been amazing. What's shocking is when I look at it now, and I think most of this stuff was in my apartment. But we've really been able to increase production in the new space because I have the space to do it and space to house product, and it's been wonderful. It's really interesting. It was a real learning experience too, because I had to sort of relearn how. Pardon me. I had to relearn how to make some things.
Right.
I hadn't. It was sort of one of those things I hadn't really thought of. But you're making something in a certain way for so long, and you change locations, you sort of have to rethink it, and rethink it in a great way. It took a little while to get back to my rhythm.
It can be very unsettling. It really can, as exciting as it is to be able to have to organize things in a completely different way. It takes time to do that, and you do lose some short-term efficiency, but it sounds like you picked it up really quickly.
Yes. Yeah, I felt like I really, I had some goals that I really had wanted to reach, and so we just plowed through it and made it happen.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Well, we talked earlier about how your road has not been a straight line. Tell us, what's the biggest or one of the biggest challenges that you've faced or mistakes that you've made, and how have you overcome the challenge or rectified the mistake to move on?
Okay. I think one of my biggest challenges was earlier on in my business, when I was so stressed working a full-time job and then coming home and doing what needed to be done for my business and basically working 7 days a week and, lots and lots of hours because it was both the day job and my passion job and my
Right.
business. And for the longest time, I would say at least probably 2 to 3 years, I felt really uncomfortable with trying to get help from other people. As I mentioned earlier, I had a hard time letting go of the dollars to pay somebody to do things for me. But I got to sort of like a breaking point when it was just so stressful, and I just like sat. I remember I sat one day, I sat down in my living room, and I just cried, and I just cried and cried, and I was like, you know what, this I'm not going to be able to continue at this pace and doing what I'm doing, and I want this business to succeed, so I need to move past my issues with paying somebody to help me. And I did that, and that has made a huge difference. And I still have moments when I'm like, oh, I could do this myself. But, it's really important for me to remember that my time is very valuable, just like many people's time is very valuable. And so it needs to be focused on the things that I can do and do well, and not on the things that I could have somebody else do.
Well,
Just
and
as well.
yeah, that
Or better.
time is really an
Time.
entrepreneur's most valuable resource. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And that process of letting go of the control of being able to, feeling constrained to do everything yourself. And you don't have to let that go all at one time, right? It's
Yeah.
not like you need to
Yeah.
just
No.
delegate everything all at one time. You can do this in small stages. And I know that has worked for me, just letting little pieces go, because
Yes.
honestly, when I first hired someone, I was so overwhelmed, I didn't even know what to tell them to do. And so I literally just looked at all the things I did, and I chose one thing. One thing, and I was like, I promise I'll give you more stuff. But honestly, if I can just get one thing off my desk, then I'll feel like I can get the second thing off my desk.
Yeah.
And by the end of the first month, like I had just delegated enough things that, she was actually helping me put a system together.
Yeah.
So it worked really well. Well, this is great, Alana, and I'm so excited for you. Congratulations on all your success in your new space. Tell us, what are your top 2 or 3 tips for success that we haven't talked about that you would leave with people who are listening today?
What would I say is my top that I haven't mentioned already? Goodness, let's see. I would say, you know what? This is a big one that I didn't mention. Give yourself a break.
Ooh, I
Make
like that.
sure that you give yourself some time and time away from your business, especially for creative people. I think it's really important to take some space and give yourself time to think about other things, time to take care of yourself. And I think it really helps your creativity. That would be one. And I think the other, and this sort of piggybacks on something I already said, which is reaching out to other people. For me, I have a business group here in San Francisco that's like part mastermind group, part support, it's all business people, all creative business people. And I think that creating some sort of network for yourself of like-minded people is really important. And however that works for you, whether it's one person or whether it's 4 people, I think that it's really key to sort of like develop it's almost like finding a mentor.
Yes.
These are more of my peers in many ways, but a lot of them are in different sort of stages of their business, so I can utilize their information. I think that has been incredibly helpful, and I'm not sure I would be as far along with my business if I didn't have that group of people around.
It's so much more fun to do it with other
It
people.
is.
It's
oh my gosh, it's so true.
Yeah, and it can be so overwhelming if not. So thank you for sharing those final tips today, Alana. Tell us where to go to buy your fantastic products and learn more about what you do.
Of course, you can find me on the web at ettaandbillie.com, and that's you can think Etta James Billie Holiday.
Oh, there you go.
And is spelled out, no ampersand. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm at Etta and Billie on both of those medium too. So hopefully,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Continued success to you, and I will be seeing you on Indie Cruise, I have to say. So selfishly, it's all about me being able to see you again, because I always have such a good time with you. Great.
Great time with you too.
Awesome tips today, Alana. I'm so excited to share you with my audience, and we'll be talking to you soon and checking you out at ettaandbillie.com. Thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Indie Business Podcast. And if you did, please go to indiebusinessnetwork.com/podcast and click on the iTunes link and let us know how much you enjoyed it. You can rate our show, and this really helps us a lot because we can spread the word, and we can also let other people know that this is a great show for indies and makers and entrepreneurs to download and be inspired on a regular basis. I'll see you next time on Indie Business Podcast. In the meantime, break all the rules, build your own corporate ladder, and create the life you love.